So, Joffrey, that was perfect. We're now recording. Joffrey just said, I believe. I believe so. So, Joffrey, we're going to have an internet altar call here, and I'm going to take an offering
Come on, preacher, give it to me.
after a conversation like that. And what we're doing today, Joffrey, I'm just going to set the stage. You have questions, just interrupt. And the so here's what we're doing today. Part of what we're doing today is going to be an attempt because what we do is we do things in the raw here, unedited, intentionally because there's no time in our world to edit.
Yeah, I get you.
Things move too fast. So, Joffrey, we're going to take one simple idea, and that is you and I will brainstorm this idea, and that is how to train a global leader. And to make it relevant, we're going to talk specifically in terms of your business, your organization, and CASIM.
Okay.
And I want to make it clear to anyone listening that this is version 1.0. And I'm going to challenge anybody's current thinking about their 5-year plan. If you had, Joffrey, your iPhone, what version is it?
6.
Okay, does that mean that the iPhone version 1.0 is bad?
No, it just means it's out of date.
Yeah, iPhone version 1.0 was the best at the time. It was the best that we had to offer. And then when you purchased your iPhone 1.0, they were probably manufacturing iPhone 2.0, and in the R&D lab with the brain trust, they were working on iPhone 3.0.
Correct.
I mean, that's the way that's the way our world is, because you have an iPhone 6.0 and the current version is iPhone 11.0, right? Something like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And it doesn't make your 6.0 bad. It just means that the day that you stop learning is the day that you quit getting updates on your computer and your phone. And will
Yes.
that day ever come? I don't believe it will. So, and now I say all this just to make a point is you're going to see this on the later today on the playlist, and it's going to be titled exactly like this. Version
Okay.
1.0, take one, because we don't know the end version, but we do know that whatever we create today and we implement it, as we're implementing it, it becomes outdated.
Yes. Correct.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. It
I'm gonna,
is.
I'm gonna give you a hallelujah, because I was raised Assembly of God. So
Now, what that means to me, Alvin, and I'm learning this with you as we're going, is that we have to communicate as quickly as possible now because of the rapid change of technology.
right,
And that's another way of saying what I've just heard you, if I understood you,
right, you
you're
did.
saying is that we can't wait. I'll give you an example. I sent a email to my board yesterday and asked them to get back to me within a week with a response. And you challenged me. Why are you waiting a week? And that was such a great challenge for me. And it made the point that you were trying to share today. And that is that we don't have to wait a week to get feedback from people. We can get feedback instantly from anywhere around the world.
And the feedback that is incredibly valuable today is what I describe is behind the curtain with the wizard in the form of data. So Joffrey, your passion, your mission is not going to change, but your method is going to change with new information in forms of data,
Yes, correct.
feedback. I mean, for example, this is I think, a really good example. Old school thinking, and pardon me for using the word old school, but outdated thinking would say, Joffrey and Alvin, you need to get together and in 30 days create a plan on how to develop leadership. Well, my challenge to you, Joffrey, is we're going to do this in 24 hours.
That's a new approach
Well,
for
no,
most people. For
for
most
most
people,
people, it is. We don't have 30 days.
I got you.
And when you look at thought leaders around the world, I'll give you a specific example of a global thought leader, Carey Nieuwhof, in the beginning of 2020, published a course for church leaders called the 90-Day Pivot. And I bought that course because I believe
Okay,
in Carey. And in his 90-day pivot, he was training leaders around the globe to retrain their entire team to get ready to pivot and then pivot and then pivot and then pivot again.
okay,
And
that's good.
to take mass ideas, churches with 5,000 people, 10,000 people, or 500 people, and say, here's the new plan. We're going to implement, develop in 90 days. We're going to pivot again and pivot again and pivot again. And in the meantime, in those 90 days, there are micro pivots.
Yes,
There's no reason to spend 30 to 45 days with two guys involved, not 100,
correct.
to create a leadership plan, because when we get done, Joffrey, what we get done in the next 24 hours will be the iPhone version 1.0.
Yes,
And we're going to
yes,
use it the best we can. And as you and I implement it, we're then developing the iPhone 2.0 based on customer feedback.
yes. That's great.
And then I'm going to speak directly to the church people. Church people, this is where you are losing. This is where you have dropped the ball.
You bet. Or you will drop the ball if you haven't already.
Well, I mean, have we not learned anything in the last 5 months?
That's right.
Uh,
That's exactly right.
God sent anti-Rona to force us to daily ask the question, what does this make possible today?
That's a great question.
And we're on that journey. I am challenged too, because some of my methods are old and outdated, um, uh, because of the way I've been trained. And I've been a large part of the problem, because I've trained others to think in terms of 3-point plans, 5-point plans. And since the plan worked years ago, let's not change it. Well, I am so wrong. So, so
That's right.
I stand corrected, dear creator.
You know, one question that comes to mind to me is that you're making the point that data is truth. I mean, data. Maybe I should say that a different way. Data usually is truth, is factual. It
Yes,
depends upon whose data you're listening to,
exactly.
right? But so it's important that we have a data source that we really trust. And we have found through Carey Nieuwhof and Bob Kinnaman with the Barna Group research group, that we have found probably what the most reliable source of data on what is happening in the church world that you can find.
Yeah.
And
And the
so,
sad,
so I just want to make the point that as we share some of these new ideas and we refer to the facts or the truth of data, that's the source we're using.
right, we're using what I consider trusted sources. When I look at my training, my advanced degree is an MBA in accounting. And what you can learn as a numbers geek is that uh, numbers lie. Wait, and liars, oh gee, I forgot the quote, but you can take
Sure.
numbers and make them say anything you want them to
Sure.
say if you're good at that. And that's
Sure.
sad, but we're trusting Carrie Newhoff, we're trusting David Kinnaman from the Barna Group or Glue, whatever they're, I don't quite understand how they're related, but it's good, reliable, trusted data. I am also putting a great deal of trust in Nona Jones, who, and she and her husband are pastors of a large church, and she's also been employed by Facebook to lead a world of faith and get them connected.
That's right. She's written a book, right? Do you recall the title?
I sure do. Read it 4 times. I'm not excessive, but it's called From Social Media to Social Ministry. And to let you know how much people value it, I shared it with a friend of mine who's a network marketer. He now has my copy and is kind of reluctant to return it because there's so much value in it. And
Okay.
I've created with him a business plan around the value in that book.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. We
Um,
highly recommend that. And that's one of the many books that I haven't read yet, but it's certainly on the top of my list.
yes. So, but let's whole lot of preaching going on here, but that's okay. If you've listened to this video this long, it only gets better. So, Joffrey, the only thing that I want to, that I believe is really important for us to do is to brainstorm. So when we talk about growing and training global leaders, all ideas are welcome as you and I walk and talk through this. No ideas are bad ideas. They're not good ideas. They're just ideas. And we have no, in a brainstorming session, we have no limit on our resources. There are no financial limits. There are no time limits. There are no cultural barriers or language barriers. Anything goes in a brainstorming session.
Good. That sounds good.
And just a reminder to you and a reminder to everybody, I've already titled this video. When you go to, you will see it here. Okay, I am challenged in sharing. Okay, Joffrey, this is for you and others. This is in its YouTube channel, Alvin Wayne Weiss. The playlist is called Raw and Unedited, and because it is raw and unedited, because we don't have time to edit. So this video is going to be number 3 here.
Number 3. Okay, great.
Easy to find and easy to share. There are no ideas here that are proprietary ideas or patent as of yet. So please share and use them for your business. Use them however you want to use them.
Good deal.
So
That's great.
So
I'm impressed with your technical skills.
I'm somewhat depressed by them. I see other people move so much faster, but I'm just doing the best I can. So I was just trying to brainstorm last night, and the one thing that, jump in, interrupt all you want, Joffrey, but one thing I believe is really important. I would like for you at this time to explain the Kaizen process and how it fits into your line of work and how you could train leaders to use it.
Yes, the Kaizen process is something that Alvin taught me about learning and growing. And basically, it is after one particular use is after you have experienced an event, a workshop, or an event, to go back immediately and ask some questions. 3 questions, I believe.
Yes.
What went well? What didn't go well or did not go well? And what one thing can I do immediately that will make a difference that I learned? Those three steps allow you to prioritize basically what you learned and choose the best thing and do it immediately.
Perfectly said, Joffrey. And let me give you an example. When we're done here, Joffrey and I will either do this together or separately. You know, what do we like? What didn't go well? And what 1% improvement can we make immediately? You know, not at the next staff meeting, not tomorrow morning, but immediately. And I'll give you a practical example. My mother and I, the world's most famous, most gorgeous, most intelligent 93-year-old podcaster, Ms. Victoria, we do a daily Bible study, and we frame it for the unchurched because we use our owner's manual or our daily guide. I don't think we ever even mention the word Bible, but we do it. Simple version is right out of Proverbs. Proverbs has 31 chapters, so 31 days in a month. It's easy to find the source. And what we've done, Joffrey, I think you gave us feedback 3 times. A listener um, said, you know, they would prefer, rather than hearing my owner's manual, it's a daily guide. So we changed. What I'm saying is that's all a process of casing, and
Yes,
a 93-year-old and a 73-year-old watch their minute 47-second daily podcast immediately after every podcast, and we do a casing. So if a
good.
93-year-old and a 70-year-old can do it, surely you can do it. I'm challenging everyone is, you know, what do we like? What do we not like? I mean, in one case, my mother didn't like the lampshade in the background. She said, son, it's uneven. In fact, that was the only one we deleted. She said, we're doing it again because I'm not going to be seen in my home with an uneven lampshade. So that's a true story. So
Oh,
I just said, Ms. Victoria, you know, you are the talent on this show. And
yes.
so we're going to, and as a result, I'll give you some specific examples. We changed our wording. A 5-minute Bible study went to less than 2-minute word about your daily guide. And, you know, we focus on one word, one idea, one thought only during the whole process. I have created some efficiencies, which are copy and paste, which means 5 minutes after it's live, the comments are complete, ready with 2 links so people can find Bible apps on their phone. I mean, it's a slick, I've timed it from start to
That's great.
finish. It's 18 minutes.
That's a great example of how more effective you can be if you're intentional with those 3 steps.
And it allows us to do a daily podcast, which most people think you can't do that. You don't have enough time. I have to carve out all this time. Well, September 2nd, we are now on day 154 consecutive daily podcasts. We missed 5 or 6 days, technical difficulties, and my total frustration with technology. That wasn't my mother. It was all me. But
uh,
so in developing this, anybody in developing a new idea, a new program you don't need to take a class or get a certification. Everybody right now, I am just giving you an honorary master's degree in the casing process. You just earned it.
okay,
You can hang it on the wall, Joffrey.
that's right, man. That's good.
So how do we, what are some of the, just off the top of your head, Joffrey, just raw and unedited, how do you train and inspire Kasim to be a global leader, and in the process train him to be training others, because that's critical?
Okay, let me give context to your
Yeah,
question.
go ahead. Please do.
Uh, Kasim Kabia is a pastor that I met in Sierra Leone, Africa through Facebook 2 years ago. And he basically wrote me and asked me if I would be his coach. He was a pastor. He was doing outreach, but he was concerned because a lot of the places he was going, he had no follow-up strategy. So I agreed to do that with him through using social media, and so that is the kind of the context. Now, ask the question again, Alvin.
Well, uh, the why don't you also share with us some of what you're doing via Messenger that's already templated? By templated, I mean you have a process where you call it vetting. I'd like to explain for you to explain that term, and you do a copy and paste of multiple messages. Please explain that process, because this, I believe, that should be or could be an important part of the process.
Okay, so what happened with Kasim, as we began, part of part of what I'm training him is a multiplication strategy, meaning that what I'm sharing with him needs to be transferable. He needs to be able to take it and share it with other pastors. And so we started doing that, and our ministry started growing. And now, fast forward 2 years later, we are working with 40 pastors in 19 African countries.
Okay, now I want you to rewind that because I want everybody to embrace, share those numbers again.
Okay, 2 years ago we started, and I gave Kasim a transferable process of called natural discipleship. I trained him how to use technology, and the two of us began to grow and expand and reach other pastors using social media. And the number of people on social media that were following Kasim, a number of them started contacting me. And I had so many people contacting me that I had to set up a vetting process, meaning there's a lot of motives for people to contact you and want to friend you on social media. I wanted to be sure they were people who were interested in our cause, in what we were doing, and interested in natural discipleship. So
So,
I had
so in
to,
other words,
I had,
Joffrey, you drop your net on the right side. Your boat became so full that your boat was sinking. Because it was sinking, you had to call on help from Ms. Technology,
that's
something like
right.
that. And
That's right. I mean, it was overwhelming. I remember one day just sitting there thinking, praying, saying, God, what am I going to do with all these people that are calling for help? Because in my mind, I wanted to help all of them. And of course, what he showed me was you don't have to, you can't help all of them. You don't have to help all of them to get the job accomplished that I want you to accomplish. So he helped me understand through technology that I could identify people that were interested in what I was interested in and work with those people. So in order to do that, though, I needed to have, he asked them some questions, or I needed to have a vetting process. So I created 2 emails that asked those questions. And so when people would friend me, I would copy and paste and send that, personalize it, send that back to them to see where their head was with what I was doing, if there was some compatibility, if there's a way I could serve them and help them. And I was able to identify people who were seriously interested in what I was interested in sharing.
so
So
now clarify for me, if I'm not familiar with that term vetting, what would it mean to be as a business person? What do you mean by that?
it means find people who are interested in your product,
Okay.
already interested in your product.
Yeah, and in other words, if when I'm coaching soccer, I'm going to have some tryouts, and you may be cut.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
There may be some people that will tell you up front, "I love soccer," and they will uh, take 2 or 3 steps in it and realize that, wow, this is a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do this after all, you know. And I had people like that, and I think we all do. Sometimes people are initially excited and impressed with what you're talking about, but when they really figure out, that it's going to cost them something, they've got to make a decision. Is it really worth it for me? And you need to help them make that decision.
Well, I
And
found
vetting helps them.
I found a number of players that said, Mr. Weiss, I love soccer. And then for a hardcore 90-minute practice starting at 6 a.m. and another one starting at 6 p.m., some of them started loving soccer less.
That's right. That's right.
And it was
Yeah,
okay
that's
for
true.
all of us.
That's right. Now think about the value of vetting for a second for whatever business that you're in. Wouldn't you really like to work with a prospect who was truly interested in what you're doing and wanted to learn more about it and was willing to pay the price to whatever you know he needed to do to be able to learn because he was that excited about it? I mean, everybody that's in business want customers that like what they have to offer.
Yeah.
And so the way we found them was through social media and through the vetting process.
Well, and then um, the next step or the next question, by the way, a side comment here is, Joffrey, at what age were you when you started embracing social media?
74, I guess,
Right.
73 or 74.
Yeah. So if you are younger than 74, you have no excuses. And then if you're younger than my partner, my co-host, Ms. Victoria, a 93-year-old podcaster, no excuses. We we erased all of your excuses, all of them. We just vetted you out. If you have an excuse, you've been vetted, you've been cut from the team as of right now. And I'm
uh,
serious. You're laughing,
uh,
Joffrey, but I'm serious.
that's right. That's right.
The
Well, the intention of vetting is not to be cruel. It's just to save them time and us time too.
Oh, I guess I misunderstood, Joffrey. I was kind of enjoying the cruel part. Hey, but tell me, because this is critical. This is where you get growth that's more than one-to-one and more than multiplication. It's exponential growth. Tell me
Yes.
how are you, and there's no right or wrong answer here, how are you going to train this to global leaders, like Kasim specifically?
Okay. Well, in Kasim's case, we started with texting. I didn't know how to do it. He was the first person internationally that I worked with, and so I just jumped into texting with him on Messenger because that's how we connected through Facebook social media. And so we texted, we went through the entire series of training, texting back and forth before we found that there were other possibilities that came to bear.
Now, wait a minute. So you have not flown to or traveled to Africa during this whole
No, sir.
process.
No, sir.
So you have
Never been
not
to Africa.
had the need to meet in person to disciple someone.
No, no. I call it a term has come out now is digital discipleship.
Well, Miss Nona Jones, she might be right. She might actually have a good idea there if we would just buy her book and read it. And then, in addition to that, Joffrey, implement it. Go ahead, please.
That's right. So basically that's the way we began. But as you've pointed out to me often, tomorrow there may be other opportunities in technology. So be aware and be open and willing to adjust. So along came video conferencing and Zoom. And so I was able to connect with Kasim by Zoom. And by that time, we had developed several other leaders in other parts of Africa, and we invited them to join us. And basically, we formed a African leadership team composed of primarily 6 leaders. There are others that they've brought on board since then, but primarily 6 leaders. And so we were able to bring them together for a video conferencing meeting and training, and we could talk to them, that way. So
Geoffrey, let me ask you a question regarding video conferencing and developing global leaders, because I think it's important at this point to candidly address the downside and the challenges to that so that we remain flexible to other ideas.
okay.
You go ahead with that, please.
Yeah, I think what I have found is that there are, if you think about how we all communicate now, I asked my brother yesterday, how do you communicate with your family? And he said, well, probably texting first, phone second, um, and then sometimes we video conference and talk to each other that way. So I said, well, what I've learned in working internationally is that you communicate with the people, especially that are on your inner circle, the same way you communicate with your people here. You can use texting, you can use phone, you can use video conferencing. Each of them are appropriate maybe for different situations or occasions. But the point is recognizing these are all wonderful ways to communicate, and am I using the best one?
Yeah, that's a key. That's a good case in question. Am I using the best available today? Because here's what I discovered, and it was really a sad and embarrassing discovery, is we noticed in our video conferencing that some people would drop out of the call. And then of course, you have this natural egocentric reaction thinking, wow, they don't like us, or we said something wrong. But I just pressed with several leaders in Kenya and Sierra Leone is, well, tell me about internet. Well, what I didn't know, Geoffrey didn't know, most people in the US of A don't know, is they would buy their internet connectivity in bundles, 30-minute bundles and 60-minute bundles, to my understanding.
Yes.
And a 60-minute bundle was $10. Well, what's $10? It's no big deal. It's a trip to Panera and maybe 2 lattes. So then upon further questioning, and this is where if you want to work internationally, you need to ask some direct, hardcore questions and be ready for the answers. Well, what is $10 in your country? Well, it's 1 or 2 weeks' wages. So we had leaders
Yes.
coming to us for 40 minutes, spending 1 or 2 weeks' wages to be in a video conference, and we were totally blind and insensitive to the extreme expense. Because I talked to one bishop who said, dear wife and family, I really want to be on these calls. We will need to adjust our budget. The reality, and this really hurt, this really stung, the reality is when we were meeting weekly, Geoffrey, we were taking meals away from young children because families had to re-budget.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
we need to be much more aware with questions, and of course more freely share money. Why not?
Sure.
What's $10 out of your pocket and my pocket compared to 2 or 3 weeks of wages?
Sure. You bet.
That really addresses the need to be extremely flexible and sensitive, ask good questions, and freely share our resources.
That's
My
right.
my goodness, everybody in this country got a stimulus check for doing nothing.
That's right.
I mean,
That's right.
I talked to a retired man who gave his stimulus check to a single mother working in a restaurant whose income was drastically cut. And when he did that and whispered it to a few other people, a bunch of old farmer guys around him did the same thing. But that's almost an aside. But in the whole process, we need to realize today's version is version 1.0 and keep asking questions. Tomorrow's version 2.0 is texting or WhatsApp. But
That's
Joffrey,
right.
continue with how do you specifically, with other ideas, train and encourage Kasim?
Well, of course, we have developed a process that we have been sent is in a book form, 97 pages. That
Right,
I sent him a PDF of that so that he could print it out there if he wanted to print it out. He could read it on his phone or on his, if he had a computer, he could read it. But it could be read on his phone if he needed to.
right.
But in his case, he chose to print it out because he wanted to share it. He wanted to coach some other people, and he liked the printed form to be able to make notes in and so forth. So we provided that for him. So he had all of the content. We call it a natural discipleship student guide. And then I gave him assignments of one step at a time. There are 9 steps to the natural discipleship process. We only tackled one topic at a time, one step at a time. I gave him an assignment to read in his manual, gave him the page numbers, read this, answer the questions that are in there, and then when we get back together next week, we will review the lesson and talk about your answers. And so I literally took him through all 9 steps with using that process.
Well, and then the thing that several things there that are unspoken is you call it FAT, faithful, available, teachable is, and it's all part of your vetting process, and it's beautiful. I mean, we should use this with employees and volunteer organizations. You gave Kasim an assignment. You're the coach. You're saying drop the net on the right side. I expect to hear a splash. You've heard that language.
That's right.
It's the
That's
fishing
right.
story.
That's right.
And so then you do hear the splash. If you don't hear the splash, you find someone else.
That's right. That's right. And that's true in any kind of business. We want people who are uh, fat employees, or, in our case, it's just teachable. The idea
Yes,
is we want people who are faithful. They'll show up. They'll do what we ask them to do. Available. They are willing to schedule it and meet at the correct time every time, and they're teachable. That they're willing to learn. They're willing to grow. They don't have another agenda that they want to operate with. So we incorporate that in our vetting process. That's the kind of people we're looking for. One of the most important questions that I get asked by other people that are attempting to learn how to make disciples and coach other people is, how do you find the right person? And that's why we use this vetting process to help them understand it. Who are you looking for, and what are you looking for
well,
in this?
now, and as you develop this whole process globally, and you're using technology tools right now, we're really heavily leaning towards social technology and Facebook. I don't mind plugging Facebook because frankly, it's the best social ministry tool available. Don't create your own app in the church, by the way. That's a waste of resources. In fact, I won't use it because it's already ready for you. I mean, I have friends I'm meeting with that run multi-million-dollar businesses using Facebook and email, and they have not created anything original on their courses. Yes, but so Joffrey, for the new person, explain to us in terms we can understand the iceberg theory. Where was Kasim? Just you walk me through this.
Yes, because Kasim initially, when I started coaching him, that email saying to me, I need a coach, moved him from below the water line to above the water line in my sphere of influence.
Well, what does below the waterline mean to me? I'm hearing it for the first time. What?
Okay, so below the water line is a person like Kasim who has seen you online, or he has noticed a post you've made, or he's noticed something about you and it's kind of caught his eye, and he is beginning to follow you.
Well,
Maybe he's seen more than one post. He likes the first one, so he's watching and he sees another one and he follows that, and he's beginning to follow you because he's interested in what you have to offer.
well, and both of us have thousands of people down here whom we have never seen, whom we may never see or ever meet, because here is a really harsh reality today is that each one of us today has between 6,000 and 10,000 impressions, bings, tings, pings, advertisements thrown to us every day.
Oh,
So
wait a minute, say that again.
every one of us, statistically, this is what, the wizard behind the curtain tells me. We have between 6,000 and 10,000 pings and dings and zings thrown at us every day, mostly through this device right here, your mobile device.
That's
And
worth remembering.
Kasim was down here, and we don't know how long, a year, 6 months. You could have people down here 10 years watching you.
That's
Now,
right.
Kasim moved above the water line, and tell me about the people above the water line and how you would
Okay, in social media terms, that's called engagement.
exactly.
And when people connect with you online, they're engaging you. Or when you initiate a friendship, you are engaging with them. And that is a very important, vital way to measure um, that's a very important, vital way to measure who's above the waterline for you. Are you talking to them? Are they talking to you? Have you friended them? You can friend someone and not talk to them. So it's not just do you have these thousands of people as friends. It's about who have you engaged, who have you connected with in one way or the other. It may be just sending them a birthday greeting. That's just an example of engagement.
And, and
So
one thing that I believe people may miss, people below the waterline are watching you every day. Your emails, your Facebook. And Joffrey, did you get something coming through your phone right now? I'm just
I
curious.
apologize. I think it may have been a phone call on another software.
No, so but
It
that's my
stopped. I apologize.
no. Don't apologize. It makes a valid point. If
It
I
was a
want,
bishop in Africa trying to reach me on WhatsApp.
well, see, the point is, if I want to engage with you, what's the quickest way? They just
iPhone.
did it. No, no, no. That's the
That's right.
point. They engage with you. You might view it as an interruption, but he got your attention via the mobile device.
Yeah, and whoever else is watching.
Right. But the point is,
Good point.
he didn't ask you to come to the building on the corner at 9 a.m. Sunday morning.
No, sir. No, sir.
That's too late.
And not to be boastful, but I have a lot of those kinds of contacts now.
Yes.
But they are people that are above the waterline.
And
They're people that
engaging.
I want to talk to. They're people that I'm interested in cultivating a relationship with. And the wonderful thing about social media is that you can choose who you talk to.
And then you can also choose who and when. You can respond when you choose.
Yes, this brother that just called me, as soon as we finish here, I'll give him a call right back.
Right. But the point is, I'm not sure that many people embrace the business people I know embrace this entirely. They know that they want to make multiple impressions, generally something that's encouraging or funny or interesting. Not a Bible chapter written in King James plastered on a picture of a flower. I mean, that actually you get hidden on my page and eventually deleted because it clutters my timeline. People
Yes,
want light humor with those 6,000, 10,000 contacts. And then above the iceberg, Joffrey, you've done this partially, but I realize there's some things here I don't think I really want to share publicly, but for example, I mean, here's just a good example of a using social media effectively. This is a page which is going to lead to multiple private groups based on interest and based on
great.
audience demand. And it's designed for humor, and it's also designed to address some real issues, and that people have a lot of pain today about their health and their weight. But this is using social media to gather, and you can just look at the pictures and it's very clear the audience I'm trying to gather.
You betcha.
Fourth quarter people of all colors, all sizes, all shapes, who want to be healthy enough to play with their grandchildren. And then, of
You
course,
bet.
one of the pages here, Joffrey, and you are ready for this because I've already asked you to be ready, is Fluffy to Fit, Fit by Bit. There are a whole lot of people that are fluffy in their spiritual journey. They are not fit. And
That's
they will
right.
come to this page and express that. Then we will redirect them to a private group where they can speak freely and candidly there.
Yes.
And what I hope people are beginning to see is they're all gonna, and I don't know when or how, but they're all gonna come from here some way, somehow.
That's right.
And
That's right.
for people that like Excel spreadsheets, and I'm one of them, my education has been in finance and accounting. I like Excel spreadsheets. I like to see numbers and metrics. I really can't calculate or count these people until they're
That's
above the
right.
water line. But I can tell you based on feedback, I know what attracts people down here that moves them up. And
And that is,
you know too, even if you can't express it because you've experienced it.
yeah, that is what is exciting about being able to use the internet and social media, because my heart and my vision is a big one because I was mentored by someone who had a global vision. And I watched him. I watched how he tried to use the best technology and the best means to be able to reach a worldwide audience. And he was able to do it in his lifetime without some of the tools we have now. So when I started with Kasim in Africa, I had a big vision. I wanted to help find a leader, and I wanted to build a leadership team through whom I could reach the whole continent of Africa with our message. And so Kasim came above the waterline. through Kasim, other pastors started coming on board, and others that I contacted through social media in other ministries. And we were, 2 years later now, we have a small leadership team of 6 leaders in different African countries that I am challenging to take the initiative to reach every country, all 54 countries in Africa, with our message. I've given them the process. I've given them the method. I've trained them in the technology. They know how to do it, and they are already doing it in other countries.
And the amazing thing is, and because I would like to drive this point home, is Joffrey, this has been incredible, wise use of resources. For example, I have a nephew in Tanzania with his wife and 4 children, and in order to translate, they must be there and must live there. But to travel from there to the US of A is a huge multi-thousand, tens of thousands of dollars expense, as well as one way. It takes about 6 days.
Yeah,
So that is not a good use of your resources if you want to multiply and impact the world, because when you respond to the bishop, what country is that? Malawi?
I've more than one, but
No,
yes,
no.
Malawi is one of them. Yes,
Okay, so in
Bishop
about 20
I mean,
minutes, Joffrey Harris is going to respond to Malawi. No airfare, no waiting time at the airport, no annoying TSA. Bless their hearts, they're doing their job. And you will instantly be transported via technology. And we don't even need to understand why. It's going to be a better use of his resource of time, better use of resource of finances, and he's going to get an instant response to someone who's in need. And Joffrey's not waiting for an appointed time at 10 a.m. on Sunday. He's available the other 167 of the week. Hint, hint,
that's
that's a
exactly.
jab at church leaders that begging people come to church. Well, why don't you come to them? That's another topic.
Well, but both of them are good ideas.
Oh yeah, they both work. Yes, but
Well,
it.
that's
Go ahead.
that's that's been exciting to be able to see that what you want to do is, in my case, is have his influence with as many people as possible. And so by connecting with someone who is a bishop, what that means basically is that he is over probably many churches. It could be from a handful to 100,
Yes.
and he's going to take, and they are taking already my training and multiplying it into those churches. And those church leaders are multiplying it into the members. So we're having an incredible impact.
Let me make 2 closing comments, and then I'll leave a closing comment for you, Jeffries. No, number one, everything we discussed here today can be done starting today in the US of A. It's all doable in the US of
Yes,
A. And you can contact Joffrey, you can contact me, and we'll help you with this. And the number 2 thing is we will need to cross some cultural barriers, some resource and finance barriers, and language barriers so that we can train something not exactly the same, but something similar that works with the tools available on other contents. For example, probably instead of video conferencing, which is internet intense and expensive for other people, WhatsApp and other tools like that. And that is our current, actually, that's what we're working on right here, right now,
yes.
so we can train and equip Kasim, Kabia, and others, so he can train and equip others. So I will close this in the usual manner, but I'll wait for your closing comment here, Joffrey,
Well,
first.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have Alvin for a coach and to have technology that is helping me
Oh,
fulfill
wow.
my dream. You know, I've dreamed about being able to have a global contact since a young man, because I had a leader who had a global vision, and I admired him and you know, maybe even envied him a little bit. But it's possible. It's possible now for anybody because of the internet and because of the developing technology. So I encourage you to take the initiative to learn as much as you can.
Well, and the leader you reference is Bill Bright, who wanted to reach 1 million people. And at the time that was laughable, right? But who's laughing now because he did it?
Well, he wrote a book called Come Help Change the World, and that got my attention.
Yeah. And I'm glad it did.
And
So,
his ministry has changed the world and
yes.
is changing still.
Well, Joffrey, let's close in the usual manner. May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you his favor. And until we meet again, Joffrey and friends, may God's peace be with you.
Amen. Thank you.